Who wants to tune in on this live? What's good, man? Let's wait for some people to tune in. Let's wait for some people to tune in, and we're gonna get going on this exclusive. What's good, you guys? What's going on, y'all? Let's get some shit going in on this exclusive. Be unique. What's popping? We got 34 people in here right now. So Lloyd Banks was featured on Conway's new album, you guys. Lloyd Banks was featured on Conway's new album. Dope new album. I know there's a lot of people who support Conway out there. You know, the whole Griselda movement is one of the I said it first. That's the biggest movement to come out of New York since G Unit, in all honesty. But Lloyd Banks actually appeared on his first shady Interscope project release in a long time now. J Cams, what's poppin'? Duke De Niro, what's poppin'? Michael Matthews, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Conway released his new album. You guys can all check that out. Yeah, man. Banks did a verse on the song Juvenile Hell on Conway's new album. Who in the chat has actually heard Conway's album already? And I want to know, what were your favorite tracks on Conway's new album? Mikey T, what up? Thanks for the vid. J Street, salute, man. I appreciate you guys tapping in. Punch 215, Duke De Niro, always salute. Conway has a new album out right now, you guys. Yeah, I'm just looking at some info right here, actually. I wanted to let the chat fill in a little bit. Lloyd Banks actually did, St. Louis in here. Lloyd Banks actually did a feature on Conway's new album, and some of the lyrics on there were making me wonder who he was taking shots at. He had a line there. He said, "The sole survivor. The sole survivor. You stuntin', money be gone tomorrow." Sounds to me like he's taking a shot at Young Buck right there. And Banks here making the claim that he's the sole survivor. The sole survivor of G Unit. When it comes to music, I would agree with that. Lloyd Banks is definitely the sole survivor when it comes to actually G Unit music. King Cash, what up? St. Louis is in the building, huh? St. Louis is in the building. Everybody knows that Uncle Murda, Kid, these guys were actually signed to G Unit's imprint as well. Why would Banks diss Young Buck? Just because the lyric makes sense. It's like one of those if the shoe fits type situations. You know what I mean? If you look at Young Buck's past, he was that guy who was stunting. He was stunting heavy, and then he woke up on the other side of the, you know what I mean, on the other side of the fence. Deshaun Thomas was popping. Yeah, I mess with Yayo as well, but that's going to go along with the statement. That's going to go along with the statement that I made about Banks being the sole survivor of G Unit. Yayo was definitely one of my favorite artists in G Unit, 100%, you guys. Yayo was one of my favorite, probably, actually, no, not one of. Yayo was my favorite rapper in G Unit. You know what I mean? G Unit had a lot of potential, you guys. 50 was really trying to turn this label into one of the biggest imprints. He was trying to give Banks his own division. He was trying to give Game the West Coast. He was trying to give Buck the South. Imagine if if 50 could have had all these divisions. Yeah, Ryan, I don't like when people say Yayo's whack either, man. If you heard some of Yayo's dopest, lyrics, they would be all over the G Unit mixtapes. He has so many 16s that just it made me feel like he was definitely the hottest member of G Unit at a time. So let's see, guys. Just looking this up right now, actually. I don't want to say anything wrong here. Buck was not that big in the South, even with G Unit. I disagree. The backseat freestyle. Why are you? Oh, yeah, the backseat freestyle Swayze TV with 50 and Yayo, actually. Yeah. Yep. That's right. That freestyle was actually dope. But I really like the Tony Yayo freestyle where he was it was the Yayo freestyle. I think you yeah, Doe. Yayo definitely did get whacker when he came home from prison. His album was just, it was kind of misplaced. It was actually misscheduled as well. That album was supposed to drop in June. That album was supposed to drop in June of 2005, but they pushed it all the way back to the end of August because they wanted to start trying to get another single bubbling. When in reality, excuse me, when in reality, you guys, So Seductive was doing enough. So Seductive was doing enough for them to keep that original June 28th release date. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows this, but Yayo has gone on live and publicly acknowledged my interviews. Yayo said that I'm a dope interviewer. If anybody wants to even ask Yayo that, ask him that now if you want. Yayo has said that. Yayo was never trash. Dope, dope, dope. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that sentiment right there because I feel the same way. I feel like Yayo was definitely one of the dopest artists in G Unit. I think the Thoughts of a Predicate album, Thoughts of a Predicate Felon album was dope. I just wasn't really too in tune with the music he released after that, like the Gunpowder Guru and all that. Oh yeah, DMX be tripping though. Do you guys remember he went on the Breakfast Club? DMX went on the Breakfast Club and basically said that Rick Ross only raps about food and smoking. Nah, I wasn't too big of any of the G Unit guys' records on the 8 Mile soundtrack, to be honest with you, Slim. Nah, I wasn't really too big into the Gunpowder Guru. Although my friend C's, one of my best friends, C's from New Haven, had like all of those Gunpowder Guru mixtapes. How many of them was there, man? Gunpowder Guru, Gunpowder Guru was not messing with the Groundwork mixtape series from Bang'em and Damo. Yo, what up, Corey Reed? What's poppin'? Muhammad Ali, what's poppin'? Lloyd Banks dropped a new record on Conway's new album, you guys. Conway just dropped a new album. And sorry, guys. Yes, I'm from a king to a god. That's right. The acronym is FKTG, something like that. And Lloyd Banks actually featured on the record called Juvenile Hell. This record actually also had Flea Lord and it had Havoc on it. Everybody knows Havoc. We were talking about Havoc earlier today. Havoc actually produced Fully Loaded Clip for 50 Cent. And on this record, Banks had some dope lyrics, you guys. And one of the lyrics actually caught me. It was this line where he said, "I'm the sole survivor. You stunting, money be gone tomorrow." You know, that line really caught me. You know what I'm saying? That line really caught me. I mean, he also said, "I'm a G, no clips." But I think that line is more in regard to the fact that one half of the clips, you know, he went Malice, changed his name to No Malice. And I think Banks is basically saying there, "I'm a G. I've always been a G. You guys have known that with G Unit. I'm going to remain a G, even though I'm not with G Unit." Ironically, G Unit dropped the G from and they're just known as the Unit now as well. But Banks was the best of G Unit. Okay, if we go over the yo guys, please hit that like button for me as well. There's 12 likes in here. We got 84 people. Hit the like for me, guys. I would appreciate that. The G Unit artists, Piruga, salute my dude. The hottest G Unit artist, you guys. There's my guy right here saying that Banks was the hottest G Unit artist. So let's take a look at the G Unit artist, the G Unit roster. Let's bring it up. G Unit Wiki. We're going to take a look at every single G Unit artist, you guys, and we're going to put them in comparison to Lloyd Banks. A lot of you, maybe some of you guys actually knew there was a G Unit World website back in the day. I was heavily in tune with G Unit ever since the beginning of it, heavily in tune with Murder Inc. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody tuning in here. Let's go. Where's the artist page though for everybody that was actually in G Unit? Why don't they have this up here properly anymore? Oh, salute everybody tuning in. Oh yeah, Game is a G Unit artist. But so let's take it back to the beginning. First, it all started out with Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, and 50 Cent. Everybody knows that that Yayo and 50 were actually tight friends. I want everybody that's in here, man, share this video so we can get some more people in here, you guys. Lloyd Banks is on Conway's new album. He's on Conway's new album. It's a dope album, you guys. It's actually I believe it's a lead up album, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a lead up album just based on the title alone, you guys. We're going to get back to the G Unit artist in a second. We're right here at the beginning, the core stages of G Unit before Young Buck ever joined the clique. But this album is called From King to a God. And Conway's next album is called Gods Don't Make Mistakes. God Don't Make Mistakes. So I think it's a couple albums right there. Appreciate the fact that we got, yeah, I'm not going to forget about Smurf. Something I actually wanted to say about Smurf when I was talking about how 50 put all of these guys together. He wanted them all to have their own companies. He wanted to push G Unit West as the Black Wall Street, G Unit South. He wanted to push G Unit South as Cashville Records. Lloyd Banks obviously was going to be the lead artist from G Unit. Bang'em Smurf even had a company with 50 Cent, Hollow Point Entertainment, right, you guys? Bang'em Smurf had a company with him where they were developing projects. They actually developed the Guess Who's Back album together. So 50 had a lot of people under him that were flourishing, you guys. So let's not forget about that. Okay, Fly Prolific. We're going to keep that right there. So we start off right here with the three main guys of G Unit. We got 50 and his really good friend Tony Yayo. And then they added Lloyd Banks to the group, and then they had the three-man collective. Three-man groups were pretty big back then, so 50 pretty much just needed his two guys that were going to be by his side. So it kind of got messed up. It kind of got messed up when 50 was dropping the G Unit, the Get Rich or Die Trying album, and they all got arrested, and Yayo had been on the run. And that's when Buck came in to fill that void. They needed the second man. OT Genesis was signed to G Unit at a certain point. They also had R&B singer Governor signed to the label. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys, you know what I mean? They had deals with Hot Rod and Mike Knox. But let's keep going where we're at. So anyways, they added Young Buck to the group, and just things really took off because that added a whole new demeanor. A whole new Southern influence. So now they got the Southern influence and the dopest rapper. They got the dopest rapper from New York coming up. I'm talking Lloyd Banks. This guy's doing freestyles over. Remember the Victory freestyle? He was really spreading his wings back then and showing himself as being one of the dopest rising MCs coming out of New York. So you had the hottest two dudes, and Yayo kind of got left in the wayside because he didn't really have so many full projects released. He didn't have any full projects released, but he was featured on all of the G Unit mixtapes. So right off gate, Lloyd Banks and Buck are competing for that #1 spot in G Unit. You know what I'm saying? So we come into them releasing an album. We come into both of these guys releasing their albums in 2004. Yo, King 413, you're tapped in, man. We got 100 people up in here. Hit that like button, y'all. I want to see that shoot up to 50. If we can get 50 likes, that would be dope. So we're in 2004, right, you guys? And both Banks and Buck released their solo albums. We got Banks, we got Buck releasing their solo albums, you guys. Banks did more than Buck by a considerable amount, 440,000 units sold, right? Buck came out and sold 261,000 units. So what happened next, you guys? Buck's album came out around September. 50 Cent had started working on the Games album, you guys, that was set to drop in January. Games album got definitely pushed up. The Massacre may have got pushed back, potentially, because everybody knows the speculation about How We Do was going to be on, Hater to Love It was going to be on the Massacre, potentially. Yeah, Banks was a huge artist in 2003, and then that transition to 2004. Banks had all of those solo mixtapes leading up to being on the G Unit album in November, right? And then he had his own album that next August, his own solo album that next August. Let's keep track of that date as well. Banks' solo album came out in August, and it did tremendous numbers, you guys. I'm talking Banks' album sold as many units as Drake's first EP, just to put things in perspective. He sold like 440,000 units. But now we're coming up, excuse me, guys. Now we're coming up on January. 50 Cent has started to buzz with the game. Yeah, I liked Rotten Apple, man. I had that album. I actually, guys, what do y'all think in the chat? I think Hands Up was a better single than On Fire, in my personal opinion. Boom, Nitty's right there. And this is what we're about to tap into as well, you guys. The Games album came out. The documentary came out in January, guys, and the Games album sold 500,000 plus units. This was the most successful G-Unit album, not being a 50 Cent album, you guys. The most successful album that came out under G-Unit was the Games album, the documentary. 500,000 units moved. That was actually a it had to be Interscope, Aftermath, G-Unit. You know what I'm saying? Just like anything else though, Lloyd Banks' album Hunger for More was no, excuse me, guys, that's not true. Banks and Buck and Yayo's album was just Interscope / G-Unit. Games album was Aftermath / Interscope / G-Unit. Right. Fly Prolific says the documentary was unbelievable. Still in my top 5. Guys, the documentary was definitely a dope album. I love the let me bring it up here. I liked his cut Running with Tony Yayo. That joint. Running, definitely easily one of the dopest joints. So guys, here we are. We're coming into 2005 now. And we've got Game, we've got Banks, and we've got Buck. All solid G-Unit artists at this point. You know what I mean? All definitely doing their thing. Sinatra, what's popping? Looking forward to wearing some of that low gear on the channel, man. Definitely. So I wanted to just take a quick look at the documentary, you guys, if you wouldn't mind. Eminem was actually featured on that album. It was like all hands on deck on that album. I'm looking right now over to see if Lloyd Banks was actually featured on that album. Yeah, they got Faith Evans on it. Yayo was on Running. Eminem was on We Ain't. They had Nate Dogg on Where I'm From, and Nate Dogg also on Special. I really like that Special joint, you guys. But Don't Worry with Mary J. Blige, Like Father, Like Son. No, guys, Lloyd Banks was actually, and it looks to me like if Lloyd Banks isn't on this album, then it's a fact that Lloyd Banks never appeared on a Game album, if this is the case. I should tell the story of when Damo. Well, we can save that. We can do that one, man. We can do that one low for sure. G-Unit, Lifer, Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. Yep. Banks not on there. He was on tour. Word. So it was dope that the Game put Yayo on this album. You know what I mean? Because Yayo really needed that push at that time going into this year. 2005. A few months later, Yayo's project with 50 would begin to emerge. They dropped So Seductive. You guys, and I think they really had the perfect rollout for that because they were going to drop the album on June 28th. They were going to drop the album on June 28th, June 29th, right around then, and I think it would have been a highly successful album, to be honest with you guys, if they would have dropped it then. They ended up dropping the album in August, and it only sold 215,000 units. Now, guys, we are only covering solo albums. That's why I haven't covered Beg for Mercy or the G-Unit Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack. I'm only covering solo albums right now, you guys, because we're covering who was the biggest artist in G-Unit. Evidently, at this point, it looks like it was Game, then Banks, then Buck, who sold 261,000 units compared to Yayo's 215,000 units. Now, look at this. Banks' first album was actually, it was pushed, right? No, it wasn't pushed. Banks' album was released in August, right? So Yayo's album was pushed from June to August. Maybe they were trying to duplicate that success or something. I bought the Yayo first album week. I was a little disappointed. Why were you disappointed, young Poppy? I feel like they gave everybody a lot of different material on that album. Um, Tony Victoria predict a felon is one of my favorites. Yayo was on house arrest. Yeah, that's right. Yayo was on house arrest when that album was released, so they do cite that as being one of the issues for its release. Everybody in here, give me 6 more likes, you guys. I see we're at 44. I want to get the likes up to 50. Let's get the likes up to 50. We're talking everybody that released an album. We're talking every G Unit artist that released an album. Thank you guys for getting the likes up to 50. So what came after Tony Yayo's album? That was in 2005. So I believe at that point we started gearing up for the Mobb Deep album that came in May of 2006. Am I right, guys? Mobb Deep, Blood Money, May of 2006, I want to say, right? Album, May 2nd, 2006. This was the next G Unit album. So, that was the next solo G Unit album. This album kind of underperformed like crazy. It sold 110,000 units first week, you guys. The album sold 110,000 units first week. At this point, 50 had looked at signing Mace. He actually signed MOP. He signed Spiderloak. He signed Olivia. He signed a number of people. Leading into that year, so we're in 2006 now, you guys. So following the Blood Money album, we had Lloyd Banks' second album, Rotten Apple. So, guys, we had Banks' second album, Rotten Apple, come out in October of 2006. Like I said a few minutes ago, personally, you guys, I think Hands Up was better than On Fire. Does anybody agree with me? Does anybody agree with me that Hands Up was better than On Fire? Cake was dope. Cake was definitely dope. Now, on that note, though, you guys, the most memorable record, the record that everybody really remembers Lloyd Banks from it's definitely Karma. That's his most played back record, you guys. Karma. Now, Cake was a street single, bruh. Cake was a street single. The video for that was cool, though. I'm about to bring that up after the stream, actually. Now, we didn't miss 40 Glock, man. We just went over some of the artists that came. Well, yeah, I guess 40 Glock came in around the same time as Mobb Deep. 40 Glock came in around the same time as Mobb Deep, probably. He was touring around. Mike Knox was in there. But this is more like 2007 stuff. Mike Knox came in around 2007, from what I've heard. Hot Rod came in around 2007. None of those artists actually solidified release dates, though, you guys. I Don't Deserve You. I Don't Deserve You. That was on Rotten Apple. That was not on Rotten Apple. That was. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I Don't Deserve You and Help, actually. Let me check this up. Because I know Help was on Rotten Apple, and that was pretty good. He had Kerry Hilson on that, actually. The big speculation is that The Big Withdrawal was originally intended to be Banks' second album, but he lost it when he was hanging out with a couple chicks. Yeah, that's right. I Don't Deserve You was actually on Hunger for More 2, you guys. T. Lewis, I appreciate you for that $5 donation. Anybody that wants to donate to the channel, I'd appreciate it. It's Cash App is the most effective way. It's Mikey T Movie. Anybody that donates to the channel, send a question in and I'll answer it. But yeah, I Don't Deserve You was actually on the second Hunger for More album. And I Don't Deserve You was one of my favorite Lloyd Banks tracks ever created. 50 could have been on top with Jay-Z and Diddy. You know, by the amount of records that he was getting released, like we're talking about, he had a record with Mobb Deep in May, and then he had a record with Lloyd Banks in October. He was getting records out there. I just think he needed I don't think Interscope really was giving him enough release dates. I think he could have had a lot more release dates, and that's why we never saw projects from the likes of Maserati Fox, Mike Knox, Spider Loke. Spider Loke actually told me, 50 told him, yo, we're ready to put that album, which was called The West Kept Secret, on shelves for $16.99. Nah, 50 jumped on Banks's 50 jumped on Banks's single for Hands Up. He did the ad libs on Hands Up, and he also jumped on Buck's album, second album that came in 2007. We're about to get into that though, because in 2007, two G Unit albums started the year off. Does everybody know what two G Unit albums started the year off in 2007? Well, it was really first and second quarter once again. Low God says, my guy Sinatra says, Banks wanted to stand on his own, and he could have. He was talented, very talented. Buck the World came out March 27th, 2007. Now let's look at his prior release, and we're going to look at the amount of time. Buck the World came out March 27th, 2007, and this album sold about 150,000 units first week, you guys. Actually, it was 140,000 albums first week sold by Young Buck. So there was an independent Buck album called TIP that dropped. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of that, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Straight Outta Cashville that came out in 2007. Straight Outta Cashville came out in 2007, November 8th, and it went platinum plus. And his second album came out in March of 2007. Like, that is ridiculous. Ludacris was dropping albums every year. Ja Rule was dropping albums every year. If 50 wanted to be like Diddy, if he wanted to be like Jay-Z, if he wanted to be like somebody on Def Jam, you know what I mean, one of the creators of the industry, he would have solidified release dates for Banks every year and dropped 4 albums on Interscope Records with Lloyd Banks 1 year after the next, 2004 through 2008. Same thing with Young Buck. Do you guys agree with me? Did Young Buck and Lloyd Banks deserve albums to be released every single year like major artists would? Yeah, OBI, me and Gully having a sit down, yeah, that could potentially happen, because I feel like he needs to talk to me about some of the things he said about me and OBH, to be 100% honest with you. Like, jumping on the internet and saying that I'm using ARAB, it's one of the most disrespectful things you could do. You know what I mean? I don't understand why he would come at me like that. I drove to Philly dozens of times. You know what I mean? I don't do that because I'm trying to use somebody. I do that because I'm trying to build a relationship with somebody, you guys. But we're talking about another topic. You know what I mean? That's a topic for another video, you guys. We're out here. We're talking about positive stuff. We're talking about real hip hop stuff, you guys. You know what I mean? Buck's album really suffered the fact that he had to wait nearly 3 years. He had to wait 3 calendar years from 2004 to 2007 to drop a second album, and it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't know, really, guys. I'm here and we're doing this live and we're talking about, you know what I mean, some of the greatest G Unit work. Yo, why do we got this guy in here who's like, he's like, you know what I mean? Never mind. What part of Connecticut am I from? I'm actually from right by Foxwoods. If anybody out there knows much about Connecticut, they know we got the 2 biggest casinos out here called Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. Buck the World was definitely fire, you guys. So after Buck the World, everybody knows 50 Cent released his third album, Curtis. 50 released his third album, Curtis, in 2007, September 11th. And that went on to sell 691,000 albums first week. So kind of a breakdown of all the artists that released albums on G Unit right there, you guys. Am I missing any releases that G Unit had in 2008? Let me get up on here and check out Lloyd Banks' Hunger for More 2. I believe that album actually dropped on an independent in G Unit. It might have been Caroline. Yeah, Tony Victoria Curtis was a Kanye West deal. Because right after that, before I self-destruct, it did horrible numbers, you guys. It did right around the same numbers as Buck the World. Crazy. You know what I mean? He was smart to do that thing with Kanye West because it really got his numbers up there regardless, because his singles were not connecting. If you remember when 50 released the Curtis album that I guess we're talking about right now, he released Straight to the Bank. That didn't really do anything. Eddie, you're from Hartford. That's what's up, man. You obviously know about Starbucks then, right? Let's bring up the Curtis album. I really don't like this album, guys. Curtis wiki. Let's see if it. Yeah, that'll be the first thing that comes up on Wikipedia when you search Curtis. Yeah, we're not going over group albums though. Terminated on Sight was 2008. Yeah, that's right. AO Technology was another failed single from Curtis. They had I Get Money. That was actually the single that eventually took off because, oh yeah, that's right. They started it off. Excuse me, guys. It wasn't Straight to the Bank that they started it off with. They didn't start it off. They didn't start off the Curtis album with Straight to the Bank. They started off the Curtis album with Amusement Park. He kind of went crazy on that, releasing Amusement Park first. Chubbs, Rhode Island. That's what's up, man. Rhode Island in the biddy. So that didn't work. Then they released Straight to the Bank. That didn't work. And then they released the single with Justin Timberlake, you guys. Actually, no, then they released I Get Money, and then that worked. I Get Money worked, so they had the album on deck. And then they released AO Technology, which didn't really do much at all. AO Technology, it was kind of a disaster, you guys. 50 Cent had an opportunity to work with Justin Timberlake. You guys, you got to be kidding me. 50 Cent had an opportunity to work with Justin Timberlake, and that's what he did with it? You got to be kidding me. Like, he had an opportunity to change the world with that record. This is like when he made Power of the Dollar and he actually got an opportunity to work with Beyonce, you guys. Like, this was major, and he just let it slip through his fingertips. Yep, he had that with Akon. That record with him and Akon was definitely dope. Follow My Lead. Are you kidding me? They had the guy from Meet the Parents in there, Dustin Hoffman being his therapist. That was lit. That was lit. I don't know why 50 freaked out when it got leaked. I would have just ran with that like heavy. But yeah, Power of the Dollar was a hip-hop classic. You ain't lying, King Cash Beats. Shout out my brother Majestic, one of the dopest artists out of St. Louis. If you're in St. Louis, I need you to tap in with my bro Majestic. Ayo almost was top 10 in every country in the world. LOL. What? Yeah, it's ski. You ain't lying. But yo, that Purvis, what up? AO Technology, or yeah, they could have called it AO Technology. That's cool. 50 Cent and Justin Timberlake should have been one of the biggest records ever created in life. Period, you guys. Not that generic type style that we heard. All right, I'm going to tell y'all something. If y'all want to hear the conversation that I had with Scott Storch, I had a conversation with Scott Storch, who produced Candy Shop. I had a conversation with Scott Storch, who produced Candy Shop, about the Candy Shop record. If you guys want to hear that story, I need to get this up to 100 likes. We have 74 likes, you guys. There's 148 people in here. I'm going to tell you the story about what I told Scott Storch about Candy Shop if we can get those likes up. Yo, Lo, we're not covering mixtapes, big bro. We're not going over Forever King. We're not going over the War Angel. You know what I mean? Cry Me a River remix was better. Exactly. After hearing the 50 Cent record of the Cry Me a River remix, like, come on, I was expecting a mega, like a super smash record that was going to transform 50 Cent. You know what I mean? That really solidified it right there for me when 50, that was a blunder, when that was a major blunder for 50. You know what I mean? That really solidified it for me right there, that Ja Rule was actually a better songwriter than 50 Cent. That single with Akon didn't hit because BET and MTV. Yep, that's true. Yep, they did ban that record on television as well. They were trying to do something with that. They probably should have just flipped the title a little bit. Yes. Yes, Ron. That's what we were on here talking about. We were on here talking about Lloyd Banks appearing on Conway's new album. Kanye's new album, you guys. But if y'all want to hear that story about what I told Scott Storch about the 50 Cent record, I want 100 likes in here, y'all. We got 85 likes, guys. Let's get to 100 likes if you guys want to hear the Scott Storch story about what I told him to his face. You guys, I told Scott Storch what I really thought about Candy Shop to his face. 100 likes, and we're going to get that. Let me bring this back up, though, because we were talking about Conway's album that just dropped, that Lloyd Banks is featured on. Banks is featured on a record that also has Havoc on it. The record is called Juvenile Hell. Banks has some dope lyrics on this joint. You know what I mean? Banks always has dope lyrics when he comes onto a record, but he just had some lyrics that stood out to me on the album called From King to a God. If y'all go over to Banks' Instagram, you could see that he actually posted Conway's new album that's out. Blade, salute, bro. Appreciate you tuning in for real, though. King Al, bro, I'm saying it. I think that Ja Rule was actually a better songwriter than 50 Cent. 50 Cent proved to me that he had less than the best songwriting ability when he blundered records with Robin Thicke, and he didn't successfully do records with Timbaland and Justin Timberlake. And let's be honest. And let's all be honest, you guys. At that time, Justin Timberlake and Timbaland were the best in the music industry. It was like 50 didn't know what to do with music after Get Rich or Die Trying, Lee Mia said. I think Ja's a better writer than 50, period. I think Ja's a better writer than 50. I think his albums, Veni Vidi Vici, if we were to compare 50 Cent's albums to Ja Rule's albums, you guys, I mean, Ja Rule's first three albums were probably better than 50's first three albums. Banks always been the most lyrical to me out of G Unit. That's straight up facts, man. There's never been a more lyrical artist signed to G Unit than what? All right. Veni Vidi Vici, Rule 336, and Pain is Love are all credible Ja Rule albums. Ja Rule's trash album was The Last Temptation, his third album. But as we just discussed, as I discussed today, 50's third and fourth albums both weren't really that great. Do I dislike 50? Nah, man. I think actually Power of the Dollar is probably my favorite album ever created. Power of the Dollar was my favorite 50 Cent album ever created. Power of the Dollar was probably my favorite street album. Tony, I don't know if you know, but I actually have an interview with Shine actually speaking on 50 writing for Diddy at Daddy's house at the Bad Boy Studio. Yeah, that's right. Griselda is keeping the torch lit for gritty hip hop. Power of the Dollar was timeless. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many times I've actually downloaded that album and, you know what I mean, like had to get it on a burnt CD. Like how many times I actually had to get it over on a burnt CD. It was that great of an album. Also, Guess Who's Back was a dope album too. Both of those 50 Cent solo joints were great. But we're not going to really get into the G Unit mixtapes, man. Like, I don't need people coming on here and telling me that I'm a 50 hater. You know what I mean? I'm on here keeping it real. You know, I keep it real where I can in all spots. The Curtis album, I wouldn't buy that album until it went on sale for $5. Like, just to be 100% honest with you guys. After that album, I was not intrigued whatsoever to buy the Before I Self-Destruct album. 50 kind of screwed that up when he released Curtis before I Self-Destruct. The initial plan was for it to be the Massacre and then Before I Self-Destruct. I don't know why 50 went off of that plan. 50 had no reason to go off on his plan for a guy like Cameron, who wasn't even selling 100,000 plus units at the time. Yeah, those mixtapes put 50 on. I feel like he should have saved some of the hooks, though. The movie. All right, Lo. All right, guy. All right, guys. So I got 92 likes up in here. If we can get 8 more likes, I'm going to tell you all the Scott Storch story. He tried to, Vic, I think it wasn't, he tried to go commercial too many times. I think he tried to go commercial too soon, you guys. I think he tried to go commercial too soon. And that's why I want to tell you all my story about what I said to Scott Storch about the Candy Shop record. I mean, come on. This guy got shot. This guy, you know, we all know the story 9 times. Everybody knows the story. In the club, hottest record in the club, hottest record in the streets, hottest record in the industry. You know what I mean? And then he comes out with Candy Shop? And then he comes out with Candy Shop? Are you kidding me right now? He came out with Candy Shop to follow up all that buzz that he had? So I started working with Scott Storch, right, you guys? I started working with Scott Storch in Miami. Prior to meeting Storch, one of his close friends, who I think was a part of his downfall, to be 100% honest with you guys. Yo, what up? Carbon 15 was popping. Michael Page was popping. Yeah, hit that like button. If we get y'all is going slow, so I might make it 105 likes now before we do the Scott Storch story about Candy Shop. If y'all want to hear, yo, Macatari was popping, bro. All right, 105 likes, you guys. I'm going to tell the story of what I told Scott Storch about his Candy Shop record. But now we're going to get into the prelims. Oh, 101, 4 more likes, and we're there, you guys. The prelims. So I had met a friend of Scott Storch's when I was working at Circle House Records, and he told me, he was like, yo, Mikey, y'all took your likes back? That ain't cool. Matic 45, we're about to tap into that. Greg 430, everyone tapping in, yo. I appreciate the super chats, you guys. I really do appreciate them. But if you want to donate to the page, if you could donate by Cash App, I'm gonna write the Cash App in the page. It's Cash App, money sign Mikey T movie. If y'all want to donate to the page, I'd appreciate you doing it by there. But all right, there we go. 106 likes, you guys. 106 likes. I appreciate you guys. So I was tapping in on the story of before I met Storch. I met one of his close friends, and he said, yo, man, Scott's gonna love you. He said, Scott's gonna love you, man. He said, Scott is gonna love you. And it was crazy when he said that. I was like, damn, really? I was like, you think me and Scott would actually make a connection? Because when me and Scott started working, you know, it turned more than just like, he has a lot of interns around. Scott Storch had a lot of interns around, you guys. But me and his friendship turned into a lot more than that. You know what I mean? It's friendship. But let's talk about the first time that I actually met Storch. So this was crazy. Sydney Hill, I'm with you, Mikey T. That was a bad decision, but it was okay record. Yeah, Sydney, I see what you're saying. Greg 430, it's all folks. You're not an idiot, neither am I. Salute, bro. Appreciate you tapping in. King Alfred, man, damn near every song on Get Rich Trying was a hit. You ain't lying, bro. You was not lying. But Ja Rule's first album, Veni Vidi Vici, was dope. Rule 336 was dope. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. If we're comparing Pain is Love to Curtis, Pain is Love kicks that album's ass. But let's get to the story. No. Patchwork is in Atlanta, Tony. Yo, Atari Reeves, appreciate you, brother. Michael Page, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. I love hip-hop fans. So, guys, I met Scott Storch actually. I did an interview with Storch at his own studio. He had a studio actually like 5 minutes from my house when I was living in Hollywood, Florida. When I was living in Hollywood, Florida is when I met Scott Storch, you guys. So I went to his studio. He's in there, and I was like, I don't know why I really asked him this, but I was like, yo, Storch, I got to ask you, man, why did you do the record Candy Shop with 50 Cent? Why did you do the record Candy Shop with 50 Cent? I'm like, why did you have to do that? I'm like, yo, Storch, that was the most corny 50 Cent record that ever came out. Like that record just kind of ruined 50's credibility. I'm just wondering why you gave him that record. Yeah, nah, it wasn't at the mansion. He was in Hollywood. That mansion was more down in the South Beach area when you were going towards South Beach, and then you take a left on the Star Island. Scott was living up in yeah, McAtari, you're the man, bro. I appreciate you 100%. McAtari and me actually dropped a video he had earlier this a single actually he had earlier this year with Styles P saluting him heavy on that, bro. So I told Storch, I was like, yo, you made 50 Cent have the most corny record in life. Like, why did you do that record with him? You know, I had to tell him. I was like, because that kind of ruined 50 Cent to me. You know what I mean? This guy who was coming out, y'all seen the album cover with the glass, like the glass all broken in the front. You know what I mean? Like that crazy look and all that. And now he has a record called Candy Shop. Like, come on, you guys. Let's be realistic. So I asked Storch that. And, yo, you know Storch is a busy guy. So, like, 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, whatever it was, right? Scott, first of all, Scott appreciated me for keeping it real with him. You know what I mean? Not just coming in there and kissing his ass. You know what I'm saying? So Scott got on the phone, right? Scott got on the phone and he's talking to somebody. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm having a good day. They must have asked him how his day was going. He's like, I'm having a good day. Until I found out that apparently I made the most corny record with 50 Cent. I was dead. I was dead, you guys. I was dead. I was like, yo, I just made an impact on that man's life. And I let him know what like 50% of the general public thinks about the record, even though he read it. I mean, I went in there and let him know full throttle. Had to do it. Yeah, numbers don't lie. Okay. What about the fact that Get Rich or Die Trying continues to sell units every single day, whereas the Massacre has flatlined? You know what I mean? The Massacre did what it did. Get Rich or Die Trying is still being touted as selling 13 million, 14 million, 15 million. It's like Thriller. The Massacre came out and topped out at like 5 million. It may be Diamond right now, but I think it's about 5 plus 6 million in the United States. So let's be 100% honest about that. Where Get Rich or Die Trying is a classic album, the Massacre is not that same form of classic. And I'm just being 100% real with you guys. Okay, the Massacre is Diamond worldwide. Give me the United States sales of the Massacre. Mia, exactly. Yo, Tony. Everybody knows that album went diamond, bruh. Like, who do you think you're like? You think you're breaking news to somebody here? We've heard 50 say it 1,000 times in interviews. That's the only reason you think you know it. Yeah, I wasn't really too into like the War Angel album that he did. I was not into Curtis whatsoever. You guys. All right, so that was my Scott Storch story though. Like I really hit him with that, to be honest. Like it was crazy when he picked up the phone and said, I was having a good day until I found out that Candy Shop was like the wackest record of all time. Everyone knows the numbers because, yo, Tony, I appreciate your viewership. Enjoy your day. Everyone knows the numbers because 50 has done 1,000 interviews saying it. Okay, like you act like I'm not a fan and I haven't seen it. Why do you think I have a YouTube channel and I start reporting it? Yeah, Curtis was a bit weird. Before I Self-Destruct was a bit weird as well. They seemed like incomplete albums compared to Get Rich and the Massacre. I'm not here hating on him. I'm giving him his proper respect. You know what I'm saying? But we were here talking about Lloyd Banks tonight, you guys, and how Lloyd Banks has claimed to be the sole survivor of G Unit. Thank you, CEO Ish. I appreciate you tuning in, man. You got a lot of stuff popping right now with a lot of different major talent, man. Ja Rule's last album he dropped under Def Jam, Biggs is saying, back in 2004 was way better than all of 50 album he dropped after Get Rich or Die Trying. I'm not going to say I agree with that because After the first three Ja Rule albums, I kind of tuned out, you guys, just to be 100% honest. Let's see. The Last Temptation wasn't there for me. I liked Blood in My Eye, but it really should have just been a mixtape. Rule was kind of corny. Rule was kind of corny. And then did he even drop anything after that? I don't like the way that he dropped Pain Is Love Too. That was kind of not the right way to do it. Yeah, and Irv Gotti's and Irv Gotti had heavy influence on Ja Rule's first three albums. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, J Hood Banks is definitely one of the best rappers of all time. He's found a way to get more albums out there. You know what I mean? He's had what is he had? Has he only had 3 albums, you guys? Like that's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous, I feel like he could have done. I was shocked to hear that he did The Hunger for More too, though. I wasn't really feeling that whole thing. Yeah, it's crazy. Banks's last album was actually in 2010, and he had a couple singles on there that everybody loves, like we were talking about. He had the record So Forgetful that I wasn't really into with Ryan Leslie, but he had the records that everybody liked, I Don't Deserve You and Beamer, Benz, or Bentley. Then he also, I want to say he had he had Kanye West on there, he had Fab on there, he had Raekwon on there, he had Jeremiah on there on the I Don't Deserve You. He even put Lloyd on there. That was the 3rd single, right? Was I Don't Deserve You, or actually no, I think they only went with Any Girl and Beamer, Benz, or Bentley. Although they did do a music video for I Don't Deserve You. So, but I Don't Deserve You was just a little too slow, you know what I mean, to really have an impact. Start It Up. You should have started a video for Start It Up. He had Pusha T on there as well. Wow. He actually had Eminem on there on a bonus cut. JJ Evans says Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, and Yayo were all backed by 50 Cent. Once 50 Cent stopped going harder as a rapper, their music started going down for everybody on G Unit. But that's not how it should have been. You know what I mean? That's not how it should have been. All of these guys should have been able to push themselves and to do big things. Like I was saying earlier about how they all started, they all really started up their own little labels and shit. Max B and French Montana were 2 artists that could have potentially been signed by Tony Yayo. I don't know why Yayo didn't have the hunger to go out there and make those deals happen. Like Yayo could have spoke to Jim Jones and even bought the contract. Anything like that. You know what I mean? Look at where French Montana's at today. Why didn't Yayo, who had a relationship with him back then, bring him on the G Unit? Michael Page asks, do I think 50 Cent and Bang'em Smurf will reunite? That is a question he has. Yeah, G Unit South had a lot of potential with Little Scrappy. You know what I mean? They that whole situation with Little John. Maybe 50 should have had Little John spearhead that whole G Unit South thing. You know what I mean? Instead of Young Buck. But honestly, they had a lot of heads over there. If you guys remember, Shawty Low was actually doing a situation. He was heavy in the South back then. You know what I mean? Carbon, you're funny. But do I think Bang'em Smurf and 50 Cent will reunite? I don't think that's really a question for me to answer, to be honest with you. I don't really know. To be honest with you. You can't ever really tell what's going to happen. You know what I mean? You really can't tell what's going to happen. You can't tell what somebody's thinking in their head. You know what I mean? Yeah, Yayo had 1 album, unfortunately. His second album was going to be called 50 Cent's Tax Write-Off. But I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, you guys. I really do. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Before I get out of here, if anybody wants to hit me with another question, just drop a question right there. Or else I'm about to get out here. I'm about to go roll up some more. About to go get a steak or something like that. You know what I mean? Y'all can hit me up on Instagram. Everybody that's in here that wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Mikey T _ the movie star. Everybody that follows me, I'm going to follow you guys back immediately on the gram. It's no Hollywood shit on my end, you guys. I I really appreciate everybody tapping in tonight on this live, though, for real. Somebody give me one more like. Somebody give me one more like. Let's get to 120 likes before I get up out of here. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned for my interviews dropping tomorrow with Mir Malik, and I'm going to drop an interview with ARab's associate, OBH Razor, you guys. A rapper I met in person that I was a huge fan of. A rapper that I met in person that I was a huge fan of was definitely AZ, you guys. But I also met Mace. You guys, and that was crazy. But if y'all want the Mace story, you guys, if y'all want the Mace story, you better boost them likes up to 150. I don't think y'all can get the Mace story tonight. I don't think y'all gonna get the Mace story out of me tonight. We have 125 likes. If we get 150 likes, I'll give the Mace story, guys. But and this was a crazy story of me and him vibing in the studio together, actually. Mace is a legend. I'm going to stay on here just another second. I don't know if we can do it. I don't think we can get it up to 150 likes tonight. I might have to do a whole nother live tomorrow night. Just about the story about meeting Mace, man, because, man, main event, what's popping? Just because, I shit you guys not. When I met Mace, he made me feel like the Diddy to his Mace. You know what I mean? He made me feel like the Diddy to his Mace the way we was vibing. All right, guys. I think we're tapped out on the likes tonight, you guys. I'm going to come on live. Was this murder Mace or breathe and stop Mace? You're funny. This was definitely murder Mace, you guys. I'm talking about the Mace with the gold Lamborghini. But yeah, Lo, I met AZ out in Jersey, actually. I did an interview with AZ in Jersey. That's online right now, and that was one of the dopest interviews that I ever got to do, because AZ is somebody that I really respected heavily forever. You know what I mean? So to get an opportunity to meet AZ and go and be in his environment beside him. Overall Cam, but I mean, I have more of a fascination with Mace when it comes to as a solo artist, but Cam definitely got him on the way that Cam has built a label. I could see Cameron being the Jay-Z type president of Def Jam. Yeah, AZ is underrated as hell. It's bullshit. Let me get 20 more likes, you guys, and I'm going to tell you this crazy story about Mace. Actually, no, I'm going to save that shit for tomorrow, because that one's actually, that one's kind of crazy, man. Y'all are going to find out some crazy details about me when I tell that story about Mace. 50 should have targeted everybody. You mean shouldn't have, Biggs? Because, 50, disassociating himself, when 50 disassociated himself with the game just off of the game, saying that he wanted to work with Nas and Fat Joe and Jadakiss, that was crazy of 50 to disassociate himself with the game over that. But you know what? I think at that point, 50 thought he could have made another game to come out and sell 500,000 units. But those sales were never duplicated again, as we just discussed. None of the artists that went on to sign to G Unit ever duplicated the success of the game, or even Lloyd Banks' first album, y'all. Biggs Row, yeah. Okay, no problem, Biggs Row, man. Appreciate everybody. Leave this live up, please. Leave Cam Quest. Why do you want me to leave this live up, man? Why do you want me to leave this live up, you guys? I'm fitting to go get a steak or something. What do I think about the Tory Lanez situation, man? I've actually met Tory Lanez before. This was actually when he was writing for Trina. I actually met Tory Lanez when he was writing for Trina. Yeah, Cam Quest, we were actually talking about Lloyd Banks' feature on Conway's album, where he said he was the sole survivor. Yeah, Banks said that he was the sole survivor on Juvenile Hell. And then he also said some other lyrics that kind of caught my eye and sort of reminded me a little bit about some of the experiences that he's seen in his life with one of the other G Unit rappers by the name of Young Buck. He said, Banks said, actually, he said, the sole survivor, he's stunting, money be gone tomorrow. It's like, damn. It's like, damn, if you look at that, the shoe fits many of the other G Unit artists. Many of the other G Unit artists. I already interviewed Trav back in the day. You know, Trav is mad selective about his interviews. You know what I mean? Yo, G'd up. I appreciate that, man. I'm about to go try to see what's open and shit right now. See what I could go get into tonight. You know what I mean? But I appreciate everybody tapping in on the live, man. Y'all is too real. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Go check out my new exclusives on the page.